What's your one movie that you could do away with?
Star Wars.
That's your one movie you wish was never made?
Yep.
The whole series?
I like Star Wars, but if it was never made, and George Lucas was a relatively unknown writer-director, right, at the time. So if it was never made, do you know what the number one movie of 1977 would be? Smokey and the Bandit. So if it hadn't come out, we could live in the world where Smokey and the Bandit has a theme at Disney World instead of Star Wars. This is space-time continuum.
You're kind of assuming that Smokey and the Bandit would totally take the place of Star Wars. Like everything that Star Wars has been through, Smokey and the Bandit would go through.
Yes, because it was the number one movie. It was the number two movie. The only movie that beat Smokey and the Bandit that year was Star Wars.
That's kind of crazy to think about because Star Wars has all these little spin-offs now and stuff. Can you imagine like Jackie Gleason's spin-off from Smokey and the Bandit?
Instead of the Mandalorian, you would have Sheriff Buford T. Justice's origin story.
And then people would have like their favorite little tiny characters that help them out along the way. Right. You know, just like in Star Wars, like there's these little tiny roles that people just love and they get attached to.
You could make a whole series on the prequel of Bandit and Snowman getting together.
Absolutely. A whole series.
And how they got to that point of from being just regular old truckers to these, bootleggers.
So it would almost make sense to make it in the order of Star Wars as well. Like have like three and then go back and do a previous three, like a prequel three, and then another three.
Yeah, at the end of number one, they went to Boston and got some clam chowder. All right, so that's a series. That's a series by itself. I think the song's The Ballad of the Bandit, where he's talking about having to come down Mont Eagle with no brakes. That's a whole scenario that you could put into these prequels. I mean, it's all laid out. The whole canon.
Think about like when The Force Awakens or whatever, and she's got to go find the old washed up Luke Skywalker, and instead someone's going to find the old washed up Bandit, old washed up Bandit.
Old washed up Bandit. Snowman's got all those kids.
Oh yeah, it would be one of Snowman's kids.
It would be one of Snowman's kids. Huh?
We've written two movies.
We've written two very good movies.
Totally separate of each other as well, by the way.
Yeah. Well, they could exist in the same universe.
Bandit's illegitimate son has got to go away to the peanut farm on Tatooine to grow up.
No, man, in planes.
In planes, right.
Star Wars.
Star Wars is your movie, huh?